Okay, welcome everyone. So the next question we're going to look at is how to be a medium. A lot of the teaching style that I use to make these videos, I raise up, I connect to light, and I release information. So quite often when I make a video, there's a slight umming and ahhing before I get a clear connection and the light translates itself into information. And then I share the topic. I usually don't know what the topic is unless I say it when I start. And so how do I do this? Now, the first thing is releasing the matrices. So the training process is vital breathing. Vital breathing, you get a sensitivity to your physical matrix, your relationship to gravity, and your response to gravity. You know, when gravity acts upon your body, or you lift a heavy weight, your muscles contract. If you're walking down the street, the muscles aren't really contracting. You're more in a biotensecurity mode as you walk. So we're in this natural state much of the time. So what's a really good idea is to practice relaxing through every step to activate more facial web and less muscle contraction. When you vital breathe, this is very, very easy to do. You just add a little bit of extra stretch in your step, so you stretch your leg out a little bit more than normal, and then as your weight touches the ground, the weight goes into the stretch, which activates fascia instead of muscle contraction. So it's a very nice way of practicing. The next is your astral matrix, and it's composed of a more silky vital energy. And this silkier vital energy holds your astral ego and your physical body together, keeps it bound. You want to soften this as well. Then, once you know the astral body, by slowing the vital energy down, you move into the astral. You get into the astral matrix, the mental matrix, which binds the mental and astral body together. So, this mental matrix is a more subtle magnetic fluid, a silky magnetic fluid, and this more subtle silky magnetic fluid, that's beautiful. This mental matrix needs to be demagnetized as well, so you relax and release it. You'll find that if you get used to releasing space in the mental body and then come back to the mental matrix and relax and release that substance, that opens. Now we're already at a stage where we're releasing the physical matrix, the astral matrix, the mental matrix. So the basic elastic force Qigong training gives you sensitivity to the bodies, and then it's just a matter of loosening, releasing the matrices. Now, as you get used to being sensitive, what is the vital body, what is the astral body, what is the mental body, you'll get to the point where you go, what is the etheric body? What is the ethereal blueprint that keeps the matter of our physical body constant, that change doesn't happen too fast? So this etheric body allows the energy or particles, as they vibrate in and out of emptiness, to come back to the same place. That you remain much more constant. You're always changing, but there's a perception of consistency that your body changes much more slowly. So this process of becoming sensitive to the vital, to the astral, to the mental, is essential to getting to know the matrices. Once you have trained yourself to know the matrix as well, then from there all you have to do is soften the physical matrix, soften the astral matrix, soften the mental matrix, soften the etheric matrix, and then everything opens and you're in a mediumistic state. Whatever you connect your awareness to through the akasha can communicate information through the 6 gates, and you're a medium. That's all a medium is. Now, some people have gaps or holes in the aura, and mediumistic information moves through the hole. And for much of my life, that was the case. I fell out of a tree when I was a kid. I had a muscle in my back lock up, and it's still locked to this day. Twisted my spine gave me scoliosis. And where it locked on the inside of my neck is a big hole. Now that hole made large amounts of information just flow through. And as I became conscious of it, I had sensation experiences, visual, auditory, scent, sound. Everything was flowing through this gap into my physical sense gates, and I was unable to do anything about it. Eventually, I managed to perceive it as a valve, and I can open and close that hole, and it still serves me. So I haven't sealed it shut, but it opens and closes according to need. Those of you who know me very well will recognize that my neck will twitch more when I'm teaching than when I'm not teaching. When I have to be in a mediumistic state and I open up all the matrices, the hole opens as well as my crown, connection to light, and so forth. So my physiological response to that injury is greater when I'm in a mediumistic state, which essentially may be a risk that I'm shortening my own lifespan by leaking vitality through those gaps. The danger of mediumship is you do lose energy while you're in a mediumistic state. Now, you can be in a mediumistic state while gathering energy and increasing your energy field and flow, but there's a type of adaptation and metabolism that your system has to go through to absorb those energies. So as you go through that process of information energy coming in and out of your system, you need to be very, very sensitive so you don't deplete your prenatal energy, your essential energy, your essence energy. Now, you'll find that when you have gotten a sensitivity to the three bodies and the matrices, and you can open the matrices up and activate that mediumistic state, whatever your mind is connected to when you do that can flow through you. Now, this is really important because if you're connected to a low-level shamanistic nature spirit, it can literally possess you. It comes through the gaps, comes into the three bodies, and it owns you. And you can see possession happening with most people who totally open up in a mediumistic way, where they're not themselves. People who have schizophrenia very, very often are simply too open, and spiritual beings and different levels of consciousness that may exist within themselves are jumping, and different masks are being put on, either internally or externally, and they're exhibiting schizophrenia. So it's not that different. The only difference is there's major chemical imbalances accompanying it, so the person isn't very grounded and functional. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at with this is, what do you connect to? So what I do is I exclusively connect to the Brotherhood of Light and the higher frequency Buddhist deities that exist between Nibbana and the Brotherhood of Light. So all these non-dual light bodies and layers is what I'm most interested in connecting to when I'm teaching, when I'm practicing, when I'm streaming energy of different types through me. That's the doorway. And I keep that open on the very top of my crown to those levels, so those beings can have influence in my life. And everything else I close off. I'm not interested in connecting to nature spirits in daily life. I'm not interested in seeing ghosts. I keep all those other doors shut, and I keep the connection to the light open, and that's it. It's a nice way of living life where you're not having a spiritual world overlap on your physical experience, because it does tend to get in the way. Now, as you train to open the matrices and enter in a mediumistic state, once you're in the mediumistic state, you make a prayer. And that prayer is going to connect you to the object of prayer. So if you're a Christian and you pray to Jesus Christ and you open up to create the mediumistic state, you enter into the zone and you make the prayer, then that Christ consciousness, that hierarchical light will pass through you, and you'll be a vehicle for Christ consciousness to express itself. If you are in a more of a Buddhistic state, when you open up those mediumistic doors, then you can connect to the Buddhist deity, say the mantra of the deity, and the deity links in, and the deity can pass through you. Now, depending on the deity is how easy or difficult this is. If it's a very high frequency deity that resides on the higher light levels, they're much more difficult to connect to. You can connect to the lower astral forms that people pray to, but that's not really the deity. These astral forms tend to express different personalities in different temples based on the karma pathway of the people in that temple trying to connect to the deity. When you're working with the pure essence of mind of the deity, you have to be of a high enough concentration for your mind to be still enough to access that, pay attention to it, and invite it through those mediumistic doors that you're opening by neutralizing all your matrices, keeping everything in an open state. So what you connect to is what's going to pass through you as a medium, and forms of protection are important. Opening an Akashic circle around you to protect, and then connect to light through the crown, fill your circle with light, create an internal space that's suitable for the type of deity you want to invite in. Buddha's light for Buddhas. Solar energy from the sun sphere for the archangels. Venus energy for the spirits of Venus, and so forth. Fire element for fire spirits. You've got to create an internal environment after you've opened all the doors up, and then you draw that energy through the doors that's a vibrational match to the being that you want to invite into your house. You can't pull a fish out of water. You've got to fill your house with water and then invite it in. And there's an invitation process through mental transference to the frequency of the deity you want to work with. As you vibrationally match that deity, you automatically start to find that just through simple resonance and opening all the doors, that deity will start to generate a relationship with you. And based on your level of equanimity is what that relationship is going to be like. Remember that deities can sense exactly what your need is. That you don't have to talk to them, you don't have to project, you don't have to speak, you don't have to think. All you do is connect. They read your mental body, they read your astral aura, they read your physical body, and they recognize you're a student upon the pathway, and they reflect your need, supply and demand. They supply what your system demands, and that energy just comes through nicely when you open up the mediumistic doors after you've connected to the deity and created the correct internal environment for them to affect you. Now, if you don't have precepts, many deities can't connect to you because your internal astral body is just simply too messy. If you have addictions, which like alcohol and drugs, you can't practice deity yoga because your internal environment is not in enough vibrational resonance with the deity. So the precepts are the power through which they conduct light and energy to support and influence. So it doesn't matter how much of a medium you are, if you've got a low quality lifestyle, you can only connect to low quality beings. If you have a pure lifestyle, you connect to pure beings. If you have a holy lifestyle, you connect to the highest. And this is the law. Now, you'll find that working with very, very, very high level spirits, there may be a preparatory stage where you might fast, you might bless water and create holy water and drink holy water for a day or two of fasting before you connect to them. It depends on how much you want them to materialize. Again, if you have a very high level of concentration, but your lifestyle is lacking and you don't indulge in the weaknesses of your lifestyle for, let's say, a month, and you clean yourself up and express your concentration and connect to the deity, go through all the processes and how to open up, you can interact with the deity on a certain level in which you are clean, but you can't interact with the deity on the levels of your being that are dirty. So there is methods to connect, there is methods to interact with them, even if your lifestyle is lacking, but their ability to interact with you will have a lot of limitations to it based on you. Okay, so if you're a serious practicer, of course you're going to clean your lifestyle up and clean your mind, clean your soul, clean your personality, and now you're on the path. You can enter into interacting with these beings. A dirty astral body will mean your mediumistic skills will be interacting with dirty beings. political beings, egocentric beings, and so forth. So just be very aware of that. Now, the next thing about the mediumistic skill is when you open up this channel of light and information flowing through, you have 6 gates. You have the 5 senses, and then you have the mind itself, the insight mind that translates and simply knows what that light means. And you use the 5 gates to develop the 6th gate. This is a gradual process for most people, where they layer by layer get a feeling of the energy coming through, and a part of them just simply understands it. And you go, oh, yeah, I understand. And it can't be verbalized or intellectualized. You just let light through the crown, through the 3 bodies, radiate it out through the sense gates. And once it moves through the sense gates, it loops back through the insight mind. The insight mind simply understands. You feel it and know it. Now, there might be visual, there might be sound, there might be scent, there might be taste. All these gates are interacting on different levels. So let's say you go through the procedure of neutralizing the matrices. You open your magic circle, you connect the light, you invite a being down, you manually transfer it in, the light comes through the 3 bodies and the being follows, and then your 5 senses are starting to get various degrees of stimuli. And then the insight mind is translating and getting an understanding what's happening. After you finish the ritual, you show gratitude to the deity, because gratitude brings the deity back, and close off, and pull out your journal, draw a hexagram. On the top you put the insight mind and then the 5 senses in each of the points, and you rate the intensity of each one. So you may have a very strong feeling intensity, but visual may be about half of the feeling. You may have heard sounds, you may have smelt incense, and so forth. So as each of the senses are active, you measure the strongest and through to the weakest. And each point of the hexagram, with insight mind being on the top point, is one of the sensory inputs. Now, the reason you do this is that's an indicator of where you need to practice. You want to harmonize and balance all the sense gates so that the insight mind can function more equanimously and more efficiently. So if, let's say, your clairvoyance was lacking, you weren't seeing that much, you're going to be doing the causation chains of exercises to stimulate clairvoyance. You'll work that, come back to the exercise, and it will be better. And you measure how much better it is based on what you just did, and those measurements allow you to adjust how you practice to improve and increase the quality of that practice. Okay, so if you have any questions on the basis of mediumship and how to be a medium and how it works, have a read of Franz Barden's book. It's all there. I've got the Initiation to Hermetics course on Vimeo, and you can get it through Jake and Kieran, their websites, and Marshall Man and Mystery College, or through Vimeo. I think my Vimeo's offline to monthly subscriptions until I get a new PayPal. But the yearly should still be working. So you can follow up those resources. I suggest you read Franz Barden's book, Initiation to Hermetics, first. Mind map all the exercises, all the 10 steps, mental, astral, and physical. Fill up a wall full of notes. Start practicing them. Start getting a sense of how they work and function and how they interconnect. Start seeing the causation chains. And pay attention to sensitivity to the bodies. You have to know your vital body, you have to know your astral body, you have to know your mental body. The reason I say this is, how can you train astral exercises if you don't know what your astral body is? You've got to tune to the astral body to train astrally. You've got to tune to the mental body to train the mental body. And imagination exercises, you need to not focus on the intellect or memory. It's a different thing. The mental body is not your memory. So you're not memorizing an image and imagining the memory. That's a different process. You're going into the mental body, into the spirit, and allowing the spirit to express imagery. So this is vastly different to the way people perceive it to be. It's not mechanical memory. Anyway, have fun with the journey. Be very playful. Now, you'll notice that people who are really good at this stuff are very playful with this stuff. People who have difficulty are very, very serious. the reason why playfulness opens up the matrices and puts you in a partial mediumistic state so that you can synchronize and tune into doing things correctly. If you're serious, there's a rigidness in the matrices and you can't open. So pay attention to this phenomena and really look at how you're going to approach hermetics and do it successfully. Your time is valuable. We're forever moving towards death in every moment, and we want to use this time before each incarnation ends wisely. And so you don't want to be wasting your time, essentially. So think it out. Use your intuition. Franz Barden's book was written in an age where the Nazis were training magicians, and he had to protect the information. If you follow a non-linear path in a linear way, you will fail. In Akasha, there is no time and space the way we perceive it. The past, present, and future all exist in the same moment. So when you Akasha breathe and your mind senses that, how can the initiation process be linear? Something that you're going to master later, you can tune into now and act according to how to achieve the peak frequency of that mastery now rather than later. And it's just a perception. Some people go to step 10, prayer, and start there. They take the holy path and they start at the top of the initiation. And then they fill the gaps up with the exercises that come later. Other people start at step 1. So there's no right and wrong way of doing this. Leave no stone unturned. Do every exercise until you know which exercises you need for your life's purpose, for your life's mission, for lack of a better word. And then from there you can go, okay, this is the exercises that are very important to be a great healer, to be a great teacher, to be a great craftsman, to develop whatever skill is in your path. And so you don't need every exercise, but you want to know every exercise until you realize what's needed and what's not. All right, thanks for your time, and enjoy the path.